Welcome back. So two regional news items came out yesterday. One of them coming from Sprint Car Unlimited's Jeremy Elliott about Lance Dewease joining Rich Eichelberger in the number 8 car. And the other one coming from the Landon Crawley Racing Facebook and Twitter page. We'll start off with Landon Crawley. So interesting things here from these two drivers. One of them, I guess complete opposite ends of the spectrums of their careers. Of course, Landon Crawley still in the infancy of his sprint car racing career. Meanwhile, Lance Dewease kind of in the twilight years of his career, pushing 60 years old. Landon Crawley not even 20 years old yet. And they both have some interesting moves in the regional side of sprint car racing for 2026. We'll start off with Landon Crawley, as yesterday it was announced later in the day that he would be leaving the Johnny Herrera Racing 45X car that he ran for most of the season. Remember, Crawley started the year off in the Michael Dutcher 17 GP, ran about 10 races in that car, and then after things didn't go well, he went to the Johnny Herrera car, which kicked Jace Park out of the car. Crawley ran 59 races in 2026 for the Johnny Herrera Racing machine. He had 5 top 5 finishes and 15 top 10s, and his best run actually came his last 2 races of the season at the Short Track Nationals at the Texarkana 67 Speedway with 2 runner-up finishes, ran second both nights to Hank Davis, which is interesting. He ran second to Hank Davis, who was in the Beaver Racing 12X, and now Crawley is going to take over the Beaver Drill and Tool 12X for next year. Some other good runs for Landon Crawley throughout the year. He had a 7th place run against Highlander Racing at the Texas Motor Speedway dirt track early on in the year, and then he had a 5th place, a top 5 run against the Outlaws at the Vado Speedway Park in New Mexico. He also had a quick time award at the Lakeside Speedway with Highlander Racing as well. And as I mentioned moments ago, Crawley later on, so he announced that he was leaving the Johnny Herrera Racing 45X, and it was maybe an hour later, an hour and a half later, that he would be taking over that Beaver Racing 12X car after Hank Davis had that sudden departure from the car, that surprising departure. Nobody really saw this coming from Hank Davis. Now we know that he is running the 17 GP for Michael Dutcher next year on a pretty large schedule. I'm thinking 80 to 90 races, but Landon Crawley now the new driver of the 12X. And once Crawley had left the 45X, I was texting somebody on Facebook Messenger. I was like, man, if he's leaving the 45X, I mean, he must be going to a car that is going to be running a pretty significant schedule here. And then when he announced the 12X car, I thought, well, they don't really run a big schedule, but it was announced in that little press release there that they will be running full-time with the POWRi Racing Series next year in the 410 division. Crawley will be bringing along his longtime sponsor, MPV Logistics. That was a sponsor that was on the car when he was running with the Outlaws in Jason's Side 7S car. That was on the 17 GP car, and now, of course, it'll be going with him to the Beaver Racing number 12X car. And what is interesting here is they have a 70-race schedule planned out, apparently, according to the Beaver Racing Facebook page, a 70-race schedule with all of the POWRi 410 shows and sprinkling in some, World of Outlaws races, some Highlander races. I'm sure they'll go to Knoxville a little bit here and there as well, and which is a big deal for Beaver Racing. We mentioned it in the video with Hank Davis. Last year they ran, I want to say they had a 42 or a 44 race schedule plan for 2025. So this is a big step up in amount of races that this team will run for 2026 with a 70 race schedule in the workings for them. And so I guess Crawley is also the first guy we find out that is running full-time with POWRi, which I feel like is a good deal for that series. Is Crawley, he's ran the Outlaw Tour. I think he's going to be a contender for the POWRi Championship next year, no doubt about that. And the question now is, who will be taking over the Johnny Herrera Racing 45X car? In my opinion, very, very good equipment. Of course, Johnny Herrera is a long-time guy in the sprint car racing world, ran a ton of years with the Outlaws and ASCS and all that good stuff, won a ton of races. He is a legend in sprint car racing. And now who will they get to run that 45X car? Whoever they get, it is going to be a big opportunity for that driver because we know they run a big schedule. This year, they ran 65, 70, 75 races with Landon Crawley. From the sounds of it, I have heard it is going to be a young Oklahoma driver that is getting the call to run the Herrera Racing 45X for next year. And I really, really like the kid. I think that he has a bright future. He's got a great attitude. And hopefully that comes out here in the next couple of days. I don't want to spoil it. It's not my business to announce who's going to which cars, but from what I have heard, it is a young kid getting a good opportunity here, and I think he has a lot of potential from Oklahoma, so maybe that'll narrow it down for you guys, but looking forward to seeing how that driver and team will do for next year. But that's the first part of this video. So Landon Crawley leaving Herrera and going to Beaver Racing for 2026 to run full-time with POWRi. Now, the other announcement from yesterday, which I would say is a little bit of a bigger deal, right? I mean, we're talking about Lance Dewease here, who is a legend of sprint car racing. I mean, he's won 380-something races in central Pennsylvania. The guy is an absolute icon in central Pennsylvania and just sprint car racing in general. He announced yesterday that he is leaving the Barry Shearer number 12 car that he's ran for the last 2 seasons in favor of going to the Rich Eichelberger number 8 car for 2026. So, yeah, and that news comes after Brock Zierfoss had informed everybody that he was not going to be returning to the Eichelberger number 8 machine after he ran it this year. And he had 2 wins this season in that car. Zierfoss did. He ran 44 races in the number 8 car, had 2 wins, one of them at Port Royal and one of them at the Williams Grove Speedway. And, a lot of people were saying that, yeah, this was not a good year for Zierfoss, right? I mean, he didn't have a good year. But if you look at the overall stats, I mean, sure, he only had 2 wins, but he was on the podium and in the top 5 a lot this season, whether it was in his own 3Z or if it was in the 8 car as well. And so, Zierfoss going to be running his own family-owned car now going into next year and opening the door up here for Lance Dewease to come in. Dewease, he also won twice in 2025, also at Port Royal Speedway and at the Williams Grove Speedway in Barry Shearer's number 12 machine. What else did I got on there? 42 starts this year for Lance Dewease. He had 15 top 5s and 26 top 10 finishes in the number 12 car. And some of his best runs against the national tours, he was very close to getting a victory. He ran 2nd and he ran 3rd at the Bob Weicker Memorial, both nights over there with Highlander Racing. And he ran 2nd on that National Open prelim night, a very entertaining race between himself, Carson Macedo, Chase Dietz. It looked like Lance Dewease was going to get back to victory lane at Williams Grove there for a moment. He comes home in 2nd. So, I mean, Dewease, pushing 60 years old, this guy is still showing that he has what it takes to contend at the front of the field when the conditions are right, whether it's at Port, whether it's at the Grove. And so I think that Dewease is going to be good in this car next year. And Brent Shearer, it was also announced during in a Flow Racing article that Brent Shearer will be back to 410 Racing next year in that number 12 car. Before Dewease came along, it was Brent Shearer driving for his dad, and then Brent Shearer kind of went away for a little bit, running some micro stuff, ran maybe 2 or 3 races a year. But now Brent Shearer will come back to the 12 for next year in a 30 to 40 race schedule. And Lance Dewease, in that Flow Racing article, everybody's wondering, why would he do this? Why would he leave this car that he's, they've been building stuff and they've been getting closer and closer and faster? Well, Lance Dewease cited motor problems as the main issue for leaving the 12 car and going over to the 8 car. Apparently, Dewease was saying in the article that they were like one motor blow up away from being sidelined for a long time or being put in a bind, I think is what the words he was using, right? So apparently the 8 car, maybe they have more motors, on the shelf ready to go. And if they blow one up, it's not going to be a huge issue to the race team. And so that was kind of the main thing. I think that's exactly what Lance Dewease said in the article that was the main reason, that was the main thing, was the motor issues that they had apparently over at that 12 car. I have no insider information on that, but I'm going to listen to Lance Dewease in that article, and I'm going to take his words, and I think he's telling the truth. I don't think he has any reason to lie about why he would be making this switch. Also in that article, they mentioned a 40 to 50 race schedule next year in central Pennsylvania. I am very curious what that looks like, because we've seen for the last couple of years, the Eichelberger car usually runs for points at Williams Grove. They run for points at Port Royal. Will they do that? Because I feel like Lance Dewease the last couple of years, and maybe I'm wrong on this, but I don't think he's ran for points anywhere for many years. But maybe he has, and I just forgot. But we'll see if that's the case. Does Rich Eichelberger want to run for points next year at Port Royal or Williams Grove with Lance Dewease in the seat, or will they do more of a pick and choose type of schedule in Central PA, go to the big races and stuff like that? They're going to have a pretty solid schedule, 40 to 50 races, and that will keep Lance Dewease pretty busy in that car. So That's the news from yesterday. Pretty big deal in the regional side of sprint car racing. Let me know your thoughts on Landon Crawley's move, and let me know your thoughts on Lance Dewease's move down in that comment section below. Thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and we'll talk to you again here soon on the Rodman Rundown.